spread your fire across the world, you need me.
Hey.
Oh, he's gonna do it.
Oh, here's the gag.
He's gonna do it. Fire!
Hey.
Fire. Fire is a very powerful substance. Oh, shut up!
Fire and ash. Ooh.
Oh, no.
This is the power of fire and ash, people.
What Matt said.
Behold.
That hurt. Okay. Don't put your hand on an open flame, guys. Not smart. Hi.
This is the Lawrence of Arabia podcast.
Hi.
see
Welcome to Bomb Squad Matinee. I'm Tanner Richard Kraft, and with me I have...
Hi, I'm Austin Zwiebelman. I was special consultant on this film for the scene where Quaritch takes drugs. Don't know it. I wasn't anywhere near this.
Hi, I'm Avatar, the Last Airbreather.
And joining us again, returning from the Avatar, The Way of Water episode, we have...
My name is Matt Sullivan. I was dragged here off the street.
That's true. I literally flew to LA just to drag him here off the street. That's actually what I did on my trip. I just looked for him everywhere.
Thank you guys.
He
for
was
having
not
me.
at the Chinese theater, but there was 1 trillion people at the Chinese theater. I'll tell you what.
Bring
Feels
me
like we're getting-
Matt
Getting the
Sullivan!
old gang back together.
Yes, I'm excited. We're here to talk about the new Avatar movie, Avatar: Fire and Ash. If you couldn't tell from the fact I literally... Why didn't that put it out? There it goes. The fact I fucking burnt my hand a little, because I'm so smart and brave and... Oh, you can kind of see the smoke. Anyway, we're talking about Fire and Ash, but before we get into our thoughts on Fire and Ash, for Austin and Tim... Matt, I'll have a different warm-up question for you, but for Austin and Tim, I just wanted to know, you know, with the last Avatar movie, we had a, 13-year gap between movies? Kind of let a lot of time to maybe anticipate our thoughts on it, allow hype to build, while there was only 3 years between the last movie and this one. Were you still excited to see a new Avatar movie? What were the expectations going in, etc., etc.?
I'm in this place where I have nothing. Not my people, not my forest. Even my father's bow is gone. All I have is my faith that this is the Great Mother's plan.
Austin, we'll start with you.
Oh, buddy. I was beyond excited for Avatar 3. I remember the lead up to Avatar 2, all those people saying that Cash Money Cameron couldn't make the biggest goddamn movie in the world for the 4th time in a row. There's no way! But then we saw that 3D trailer before Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and everybody suddenly remembered why we see these things. The Avatar movies are visually spectacular in a way that is unparalleled. Some people joke that, like, if you had a time machine, you'd go back to the 1920s and, like, show people Mad Max Fury Road or something, make them shit their pants. The Avatar movies feel like blockbusters from the future that we're lucky enough to get to watch today. And I personally felt that the second Avatar film really, like, raised the bar in terms of story, which is, I think, what most people had some issues with for Avatar 1. I guess the only thing that struck me as a little bit strange leading up to Fire and Ash was the relative lack of promotion. Disney waited until July 27, 2025, just 5 months before this movie came out, to drop the first trailer in front of Fantastic Four: The First Steps. But maybe it was because the last movie kind of proved to Disney that this franchise has an aura or something. The last movie made $2.3 billion, even though the franchise had been completely stagnant for 13 years. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they held off on the trailers for a different reason. But yeah, to reiterate, I was amped as hell for Avatar: Fire and Ash. I cackled like a madman when I got my IMAX 3D tickets. It's the closest thing I have to, like, booking a vacation to space. Back to you, Tanner. I was stoked.
Good stuff, good stuff. Tim, how about you? Were you still excited, or was 3 years not enough time to get you hyped?
Okay, so, Matt, if what I'm about to say is gonna get me or anybody else on this recording assassinated by James Cameron or the Walt Disney Company, just
What the fuck are you about to say?
Just let me know. I'll cut it from the
Back away
episode if
slowly.
that's the case.
Just back away slowly and just walk out the door, man. You can save yourself.
So here's the thing, though. Yeah, I've known about the Ash Navi since 2018. So that keep keeping that a secret for 7 years.
Whoa.
Are we good to keep that in the episode, Matt?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, cool.
I've known about them for far longer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, that just knowing that for as long as I did, and not telling anybody, I was just like, no, I can't tell you. It's confidential. But yeah, I was excited to see them in action. I'm always a sucker for a fire type. Charmander was my first Pokemon.
There we go.
I love Zuko and the other Avatar. Yeah, I'm a sucker for a fire type, so seeing Avatar go into the fire types of Pandora, like, yeah, it activates that, like, 12-year-old lizard brain that just is like, it's fire, so it's cool.
You're really excited to see Quarazard.
Yeah, there we go.
Corzard.
I saw a post that was like, they gave Neytiri her own Shadow the Hedgehog, and you know what? I'm down for it.
Holy shit.
I think there was like a fan art of her with the flamethrower and Shadow with the gun. It's very good. Yeah, I was excited for that, and you know, it's Avatar, so it's gonna be a lot of big, cool visuals. So, of course, I'm in for it. I'm in for the spectacle of it. And what did I think of that spectacle? Find out later. Back to you, Tanner.
Good stuff. All right, I'll get right into it. I remember like really buying into the Avatar franchise as a whole leading up to The Way of the Water. My stance on Avatar was I mostly found the people going, it's just Dances with Wolves with blue people, to be annoying. I find that to be a reductive way to talk about storytelling, even if it follows a similar type of journey. I think it has its own stuff that makes it unique. And then the way when I rewatched Avatar for the first time in theaters leading up to The Way of Water, I went, holy shit, I get it now. That was like some next level blockbuster filmmaking. And then The Way of the Water was one of my favorite movies of the year it came out. I adored The Way of Water. Was the plot spectacular? Not necessarily, but I didn't really care because it was just a perfect blockbuster cinema. I rewatched the scene where Korg is like, I will hunt you down and kill you no matter what, every single one of your family, and Jake just goes, let's get it done then. I watch that like once a week. So I was excited for this one. I was a little, I don't know. I was excited, but at the same time, it was just sort of like, oh, cool, another one of these. As opposed to, oh, finally, I fucking waited 13 years for this shit. It was just, oh, cool, another one. Maybe when Avatar 4 comes out when I'm 47, I'll be excited for that one, especially. Considering I think he's filmed 10% of 4 because he needed to film stuff before the kids got older, but we'll see if that even happens. They haven't announced it. It's happening, but
it might be a book. Who knows?
I liked what James Cameron said, where he just said if he doesn't get greenlit for sequels, he's just going to do a press conference where he explains the plot of 4 and 5.
I may be working on it right now.
Oh,
just kidding. I'm not. But I could be. But I might be.
He could be, but he would not be allowed to tell us, is what I'm hearing.
But I could be. But I might be. But I'm not.
But I was excited. I don't think I was as excited as I was for The Way of the Water. But I figured if nothing else, it'd be another spectacular, spectacle. What did I think of it? You'll have to wait a little bit to find out. As a matter of fact, you're going to have to wait. We sort of maybe alluded to this with Tim announcing that he knew about the Fire Navi in 2018. And Tim, I feel like you might have mentioned something to me at some point about that because that sounds vaguely familiar, but I might just be thinking of the last movie's recording.
I think I did mention that to you, but also, like, we were on the set of Diagnosis in 2019. I was just like, yeah, my cousin told me some interesting things about the Avatar movies.
Probably preoccupied then with either working on the movie or my personal life falling apart.
James Cameron's private FBI is currently surrounding your house right now. So,
but Tanner, you were literally like, what do you know? What do you know? Like, I can't tell you. It's confidential. Anyway, how's your sex life?
And then I told you, well, actually, Tim, it's funny you asked that. Things are on the rocks with me and the lady, which would have been true at the time. 2019, horrible fucking year. So, Matt, you've had to keep your mouth shut for, I guess, many years about what you knew about Avatar 2, and at least for the last 3 years about what you knew about Avatar 3. I guess, what's it like, kind of like being quiet about that, and also to the same extent, like seeing people speculate about what could be happening in the movie, and you kind of just being like, well, I know what's happening. Well, what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like part of the business in and of itself, there's a lot of like patiently waiting, just like regardless of what you're working on, you're involved in production, and then you have to wait at least a year. Like, best case scenario is about a year before it comes out. So I guess like in that respect, I'm kind of used to the wait, but it's just magnified so much on Avatar that like it's just to a painful degree where I'm like, oh, I have these 5 other things that came out while I'm still waiting for that one thing that I can barely remember that feels like a fever dream from like 2017 and 2018. And so, yeah, in that way, there's 2 sides of it where like I'm so used to just like sitting on something quietly for a while, but at the same time, like of all the things that I've worked on, those are some of the most excited I've ever been for a release where I'm just like kind of like sitting here tapping my fingers, like waiting to see like little shreds of what it might look like when it finally comes out. Because like early on you have maybe some idea or like some little nugget of information like based on what you witnessed on that particular shoot day. You're like when I was sitting there watching them film this scene, did that one unique moment that I think I saw like make it in, or was it just like my mind playing tricks on me? Like, did that take actually look like that? Like there could be those moments where like over the course of 5, 6, 7 years, your mind paints pictures of like the way that you think something is going to come together. And like, I guess, not just on Avatar, just in general, like within animation and visual effects, like I could have a feeling of how I felt a certain moment played to me in my head when it was being made. And then when I see it in theaters, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like that was kind of a different take than I thought. Like maybe I thought it was corny in like during the process of creating it, but then like I see that it was actually intended to be something like that, and there was a twist on it. So it can manifest in many different ways, but I was really happy to see a lot of the sequences that we had worked so hard on kind of come to fruition in the way that I had pictured them. So that's always satisfying to like to kind of cement that vision, because for a while you're like, did it even happen? Like there's just this weird feeling of like, is it even, it's like the tree falling in the forest if no one's around to hear it. You're like, did that happen? I need this like theatrical release to confirm that all my like deepest suspicions are true, you know? So that's kind of, I don't know if that answered the question, but that's kind of the feeling.
No, good answer. I love to hear that. Yeah,
you're like, I don't give a fuck. Next question.
Yeah. I've obviously never worked on something at the scale of Avatar, but I've worked on short films before, and it can be, I think, a very surreal experience seeing it get shot, and then you see it, colored, edited with sound weeks later, and you're like, huh?
Right.
Oh yeah, that happened. I saw that happen.
I've worked
Yeah, go ahead.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just
Tim.
gonna say, I've worked on indie features that still haven't come out, and I imagine when they finally make some kind of screening years from now, we'll just be like, oh yeah, I remember filming that in 2021 or whatever. It's always weird when you see something you worked on that many years later.
Totally. And I think, like, in some respect, like, I really appreciate the additive value of that time passing, too. Because it's this constant reminder that, like, you're not the only person making this film, right? Like, you look at the credits and they're, like, 5 years long. Yeah. Right? And you're like, a whole lifetime of people worked on this film after it left my hands. And in some way, you're having this feeling of, like, I want to be protective over the thing that I know and that I witnessed and that I contributed to, whatever. But then at the same time, you're like, well, that's just a selfish me wanting my thing, right? So then there's this other side of it where you're like, I want everyone else to contribute, like, that level to keep raising the bar. And I think that's what's so impressive about the Avatar films, is that it really takes a village, and you can definitely get a sense of that, like, at the end, where you're like, holy fucking shit, so many people poured so much time and effort and resources into making this as good as it can possibly be. And so, like, I'll pour one out for all the people who were involved in the process. So
yeah. I wonder if I wasn't able to stick around for the entirety of the credits because the people I saw it with are like, all right, let's go. Yeah. But I kind of wanted to stick around because I was thinking, when you watch animated movies, a fun thing I always see, at least the big ones do this, is that near the end of the credits, they have production babies, which, animated movies take so long to make that they tell you what babies were born during the production of the movie. And there's always like a dozen names on it. And I was wondering, these Avatar movies have taken so long to make. I wonder if there are production babies on this one. I wasn't able to stick around and find out, but
it's a funny question, and I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it's funny because, like, the studio has to budget for all that time. Like, every second of footage has a dollar value attached to it, right? It costs them money, like, to make it a certain length, right? So, they come out. Well, Disney and, like, the Avatar productions are very good about crediting people, but they're not playing many games, though. I feel like a lot of, like, animated features. I'm not sure if they have production babies or not. My instinct would probably say no, but I couldn't tell you definitively. But I feel like generally, like, fully animated features tend to have them more than, like, live action features. And I feel like Avatar kind of operates more like a live action feature. That makes sense because it's a live action set.
Yeah, it's a live action set with the production capture stuff, even though it's like 80% animated at this point.
I mean, it's basically an animated movie. Like, I would almost consider it an animated movie. But just due to the nature of, like, the set itself, I would be inclined to think that probably it doesn't have that. But I would be satisfied to see all 15,000 babies that were created in the million years that it took to make
1 trillion babies born under James Cameron.
Yeah, how many of them blew? The world.
Yeah. We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
It's just like when movies have like this movie employed 15,000 people. It's just like this movie made 1,000 babies.
Including
this movie
yours.
Responsible
it says
for
you,
advancing
Deborah,
the human
is
race.
pregnant. It starts calling out audience members. You're pregnant. Like, whoa! All right. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's talk about what we thought about the movie overall.
Behind us!
Sahik!
Tim, what did you think of Avatar: Fire and Ash?
Yeah, so I guess I would say I go into the Avatar movies expecting, great visual spectacle, and that's what I got. I think it really exceeded at being a great visual spectacle. And like Austin was kind of saying, the writing improved from the first one and two, and I think this one, the writing is fairly on par with two. I think I kind of appreciate the character dynamics a little bit more here. It was overall fairly engaging as a story, but like the story is secondary to the visual spectacle, absolutely. And it's a great looking movie, and I do love the Ash Navi. They're really like interesting design wise, and just really fun characters. There's this one like sequence of screenshots that I really enjoy where Korik is shown the flamethrower, and suddenly she's just like, oh, and
that one's been getting a lot of attention on the interwebs. I mean, I'll give a shout out to Varang. Like, I felt like she really stole the show in this movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's a funny meme, but it also kind of highlights that I think this movie does a really good job at like making its characters expressive, which I feel like in a lot of, photorealistic CGI movies, they kind of lose sight of that, but that's present here, and I really appreciate that. Lion King. I think it looks really good. Character stuff was overall engaging. Overall a fun time, and like the other two Avatar movies, it's very long in the tooth. You're obviously you kind of have to plan your day around an Avatar movie, but that's just something that you kind of come to expect going into it, and if you want a fun time with a popcorn and a big bombastic experience, check it out while it's in theaters. If you have an IMAX 3D screen near you, see it that way. It feels made for that. Honestly, I don't think I've actually watched an Avatar movie outside of the theater and not in 3D. I don't know what that looks like, and I don't plan to find out. Back to you, Tanner.
I could not imagine watching this not in a theater. If you really want to watch this the way James Cameron intended, find a theater near you that supports high frame rate. There is maybe a dozen in the country. Sure as shit not one anywhere near St. Louis, I'll tell you that much. Right? Is there, Austin?
In Arnold, the Super Screen DLX is playing it in 2D, but at the high frame rate. I thought that was so bizarre.
The Marcus in Arnold.
Yep, the Super Screen
Arnold, Missouri.
DLX. Yes.
Has high frame rate support.
Yes.
I may share an unpopular opinion on this, but personally, I can't stand watching high frame rate films.
No, I
think it's
I'll
so
be honest, I also
distracting.
hate it. I find it when I'm playing a video game, yes, crank the frame rate up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When I'm watching a movie, listen, maybe I'm just used to 24 at this point. Maybe that's the problem. People tell me, "Oh, you just think a movie's supposed to look 24." Yeah, maybe, but I don't know, it doesn't seem broken to me.
There's a Pulp Fiction meme where it's just like cinephiles watching 24 frames a second. This is some serious gourmet shit. Gamers watching 24 frames a second. This is some fucked up repugnant shit.
That's true, though. Yeah, I don't know. It frustrates me that I feel like we've lost the last decade of Ang Lee movies to him just really experimenting on high frame rate shit, and also making Billy Lynn's long halftime walk in Gemini Man. What a... Austin, what did you think of Avatar Fire and Ash? Sorry, I just got really sad for a second. We just did Brokeback Mountain a month ago, and I was like, what the fuck happened? But Austin, go.
Is this like the logical conclusion of Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Like, is this the final form of Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
I suppose.
I think the only thing that proves I'm no longer trying to have any kind of career in post-production above, like, settling into a boring IT job is what I'm about to say, where I'm about to say it. It's not every day you get to be derivative about calling something a little bit derivative. To echo the words of, like, Brian Tallarico from Roger Ebert's site, David Rooney from The Hollywood Reporter, David Ehrlich from IndieWire, it appears the number of very original Avatar scripts that Jim had for the original trilogy was one. This series, kind of started off with something that felt like Dances with Wolves. Then with The Way of the Water, it seemed like the story was, ready to go in bold new directions. And now it kind of feels like we're eating microwave leftovers from movie 2, with, a kind of disappointing amount of new original stuff to take in. And believe me, I feel like shit talking down about this $400 million movie that was made with some of the most innovative, futuristic filmmaking technology on the fucking planet. But the way I swear it in my head is the stuff that bugs me comes from mostly the screenplay, which is the work of 4 people. But the parts of this movie I found utterly exceptional and very worth the price of admission. The technical aspects of this film, that's the work of over 2,500 people. So I had an awkward realization leaving the theater, knowing that I had to talk about this, because the story is a bit lackluster. The reveals I felt were a little weaker than the last film, and some of the action set pieces were almost felt copied from the previous film. That means my favorite parts of the experience were not bedrock elements available in normal copies of this film. I loved the absurdly high fidelity animation and the tall IMAX aspect ratio. This thing took, I swear to God, 1,248,000,000 render hours to complete. So, say you're missing 22.6% of the rendered pixels on the top and bottom because you're seeing this in scope at a regular theater. You are missing out on 282 million render hours worth of the most gorgeous computer graphics you've ever seen. That is 32,000 people years worth of computation, only visible in select theaters. But it gets more exclusive. My single favorite aspect of Avatar 3 was the spatial design. The way they tailored the film for when you see it in 3D. They found these really sophisticated ways to create the illusion of depth without resorting to the cheap tricks everybody hates, having a character point their fingers at the lens. There's a lot of shots in here where they'll have the camera tracking right on top of the edge of a plane, so it looks like you're looking down this crazy long hologram that has just as much depth as those cheap tricks, but in this way that feels organic and sophisticated. I could really actually talk forever about the 3D. There's a bunch of moments I remember. Those beam splitter rigs are fucking crazy. But no other movie comes close in the 3D, then it hits me. Let's say, hypothetically, it's been a year since this matinee dropped, and you boot up Disney Plus and you watch this on streaming, or fuck it, you're watching the video right when it came out, but you saw Avatar 3 at a Dolby Cinema screening, but it was in 2D or it was in scope. Unless you go out and you see this in IMAX 3D or a Dolby Cinema 3D theater where this is in the flat aspect ratio, my favorite things about the movie, won't be there for your screening. You won't ever get to see what, in my opinion, are the most impressive parts of the movie. And that's kind of weird. With The Way of Water, the 3D was cool. The animation was light years ahead of anything that has happened before or since. But without those premium large format perks, there was still a really good movie. I don't think there's a single thing in this movie that's as emotionally interesting as Quaritch crushing the skull from his old human body, or seeing Free Willy fight the whalers. It isn't the same the second time around. And nobody even gets their arm chopped off. We don't get anything remotely as epic as the scene where the RDA returns to Pandora, obliterating entire forests with their jet thrusters. Yeah, and there is some new stuff to look forward to. You got the Wind Traders, the Fire People, the Fire People lair, the crazy root simulation that crawls up Spider's nose, and the fucking magnetic storm at the end. The rocket scientists over at Weta devised some really cool solvers for the fire and the magma They made a great soot shader for the fire people's skin, and the new facial muscle system manages to make the Na'vi look even better than they did 3 years ago. But there's so much hanging out with the Water Tribe, it feels more like an expansion pack rather than a full-fledged sequel. I'm giving this one like an 8 out of 10 on the assumption you are going to see it in 3D at the 1.85 aspect ratio. Without those things, based on like just the story itself, is like a 6 out of 10. I don't know. Back to you, Tanner.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. When I talk about watching the Avatar movies and whether or not I recommend them, I do always say them under the impression that you will somehow find a way to be able to watch it in IMAX 3D. It is fundamentally an incomplete experience if you do not watch it in IMAX 3D. Like that's just the way it is, you know?
We have a buddy who works at the Alamo Drafthouse Theater, and it is not doing numbers at the Alamo Drafthouse Theater. Because
it's what I said. Avatar is a premium large format type of franchise, and there are better premium large format theaters other than the Alamo. And two, the only premium large format screen the Alamo has, they're the Big Show, which uses like it's a big screen, and I think they have some special type of Dolby audio in there, is not capable of doing 3D projection, and I think it projects in scope. So they only have one 3D capable theater at the Alamo. So there's that for you. Yeah.
You need a burger while you watch it.
Brought you a burger. Okay. Actually, you should watch it at the Alamo, order a burger, and then demand your waiter at the Alamo say, brought you a burger, when they deliver your burger. That's what you should do. You need to do that. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, my time to shine. Hello. I fucking love this movie.
There we go.
Plot stuff. Yeah, sure. I don't necessarily disagree with anything that Tim and Austin are saying here, but also I don't give a shit about the story. I don't. It's a means to an end. It is a means to the end. What I care about is mind-blowing spectacle, mind-boggling special effects, and honestly, character stuff. Now, I know what I just said. I don't care about plot. That's true. I think the character interactions are interesting outside of the plot. I like the way these characters talk. I like the way they grow. I think Jake Sully is something about Way of Water that didn't explore much, that this movie explored much, is that because Jake Sully finally went back to where the humans were after being arrested, he kind of had to confront the humanity within himself that is still there. And I thought that stuff was interesting. I think the fact that Spider... I'll get this out of the way, actually, before I get on that. I think Spider is an interesting character, that James Cameron came up with a good idea for a character, then proceeded to write him kind of bad dialogue, and then proceeded to cast an actor who is great physically. He's clearly Jack Champion, right? I believe that's his name.
Yeah.
He's an incredibly talented acrobat. He's a very gifted physical performer. The things he can do with his body are incredibly impressive, especially since he was like, 12 when these movies were made or filmed? What he's able to do with his body physically is very impressive. His line delivery leaves some to be desired in some scenes. I think the scenes where he's just interacting with the other kids, he's really natural, and that works, but like some of the serious moments he doesn't nail. Spoiler alert, there's a movie in this where Jake Sully's about to kill him, and I'm not super buying it from Spider. I'm not. I also think it's deeply hilarious that scene which starts with Spider going, I have to take a piss, man. Yep. And then Jake Sully going to kill him. And then Spider does not pee for the rest of the movie. Let's just point that out. I don't think he ever got his piss break.
Torture.
I don't really blame Jack Champion was young. It's hard to be a good actor when you're young. He might have improved since then. Like I said, the physical aspects of it, he's really good at. If I were to critique anything about the movie, it's that Spider was a much bigger part of this one, and his line delivery just wasn't there a lot of the time. But that kind of also transitions to the thing I actually really loved about this movie. Also, I'm kind of a nerd about lore and mechanics and how the thing works, And I feel like this movie really introduced a lot of the mechanics and of how Pandora is and how AWOL works that the last movie didn't really get into as much, that I found interesting. For once, we got a glimpse of AWOL. Turns out AWOL is the baby from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Who knew? Very inspired decision. One of the most interesting 2001 references I've ever seen in a major blockbuster. It's just pure visual reference. I like the stuff going. I mean, okay. On the one hand, I understand the critique that James Cameron's kind of hitting you in the head with a hammer, saying Sigourney Weaver is Na'vi Jesus. Sigourney Weaver is Na'vi Jesus. But also, I don't know, these movies are made for a very large audience with language barriers, and even with translation and dubbing, things can get lost. It's kind of nice to make it simple. I like all the new stuff we learn about the lore and how it works. I think the stuff happening with Spider is really fascinating, how he's becoming like Na'vi, which I'm going to say right here. I hope we get crossbred babies in Avatar 5, because if Spider has the hair thing, who's to say he can't breed with the Na'vi? I'm just saying. I'm into it. I'm into that conceptually. The spectacle here is amazing. I think my favorite action sequence in any of these movies is the prison break sequence in this movie. When they break Jake out of prison, that is where I think is my favorite out of any of them.
Where
even
he's
more than the
driving
climax.
in like the giant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, just everything's so awesome because you know what? It's just a few characters. It's really focused. It's really
And
simple.
he's in a bulldozer like the size
Yeah.
of a skyscraper. Like,
He's in a
that thing was
bulldozer.
sick.
Meanwhile, Natiri is shooting fucking RPG arrows at people.
That was dope.
It was so sick. That shit was sick as hell. And I love how multiple people are trying to save Jake at once. There's the human, there's Spider, and there's his wife. And I love shit like that. Because honestly, I thought, oh no, one of them's going to get in the other's way and the whole thing's going to blow up. No, it works. They get him out. It's awesome.
I loved that scene. I thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to like bring it back to Bridgehead City. So like just on the kind of like on the lore side. So if you notice in the first movie, or sorry, in movie 2, when they come and like when Quaritch comes back down to Earth with like the spaceship, and they are kind of trying to like take over again, and they blast the scorched earth, whatever. That area where they land and blast all the earth and like burn out that whole space, that's where they set up Bridgehead City.
Oh,
so if you
hell
see
yeah.
like if you actually see the top-down view of Bridgehead City, it's like in the shape of the burn scar from the landing of the spaceships in 2. So yeah, that there's actually a direct correlation of where everybody landed and where they set up the city. So that was kind of cool.
Holy shit, it's in the crater! It's in the blast thingy! Holy shit!
Yeah.
Did they even draw enough attention to that? Because that whips, or is it like a gym thing to just be like this awesome detail in the background?
I think that's like part of the wonder of, you know, a brain like the James Cameron brain, is that there's just such a ferocious attention to detail, and it's almost like regardless of what the set piece is or what the moment is, even if it's not being shown off to the nth degree, he's still going into like 20 million levels of detail and making sure that the whole backstory and the science behind it adds up. So like to think about how what we were setting up in that's actually one of the sequences that I worked on very heavily in the first movie, was the spaceships coming back down and burning the land. That sequence was called Manifest Destiny. And so to see like the plot fast forward to a point where like they've built out the city, because I remember seeing like the plans for the city as we were working on the spaceships coming down. Ben Proctor, who was like the hard surface production designer, he was one of 2 production designers, I think was his role. He handled all the hard surface stuff, so basically like all the human side, whereas Dylan Cole handled all the Na'vi side. so it was really interesting to be like working on the spaceships coming down, and then he would be showing us what we're setting the stage for later. So he's like in his office working on paintings that are like 5 years out, 6 years out, whatever, and kind of trying to set us up for where we're headed later, which was kind of cool. So to see that paid off and like see Bridgehead City fully built in 3 was pretty awesome. And then I think what was really cool also, and this is an anecdote that I thought was like really special about this production was, I mean, I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I personally loved the like psychedelic Ash Village trip, the Mongquan psychedelic trip. That was the name of the Ash Riders, is the Mongquan, and so like when Varang took Quaritch into her little like ash hut, whatever you want to call it, she like blew the she blew like the psychedelic dust powder or whatever it was into his nostrils with like the little whatever paraphernalia you want to call it. So what was really cool was that during production, like leading up to that shoot day, Jim had a whole tribe of natives from the Amazon rainforest that he paid like all expenses. Like they had to take like 36 hours of travel to get to the set, and they did like this whole ritual. I don't even know how to describe it. It was like trying to imbue some of like a real grounded feeling of like native culture to the movie. And so there was this tribe of people who they lit real fires in the middle of the sound stage, and they had like this kind of, it was almost like a ritual process that they cleansed the set of like bad spirits, I guess. And so everyone who was working on the production lined up, and we went one by one, and they would like smoke this tobacco leaf. Like it was basically like a fat blunt of tobacco, and they were just like this like tribal elder was just like ripping clouds of smoke off this like tobacco leaf, and he would like bless everyone with it. Like he would take a drag off of it, and then he would like blow it in your hair and around your body and like bathe you in this smoke, and it was supposed to like cleanse your body of bad spirits or whatever. But it was just really interesting to see the way that he took like real human elements of culture and native practices and tried to like bring that informed element into the filmmaking process, which like when I saw that sequence come to life where Quaritch like has that crazy psychedelic trip, I was like, fuck, that it really, I mean, maybe that was just like me baggage because like I had that experience where we had that visit, which felt very like tangible to me. But I mean, hopefully I feel like that comes through somewhere in the performances and in like the process of watching it, that you feel that it's inspired and grounded, and there's some reality to it, because there really was, which I think was really cool. So I don't know.
I would say I 100% did love that sequence, and honestly, I, like Tim was saying, I loved everything with the fire people, the fire tribe, the ash tribe. I especially love Varang as the new villain in this movie. I think she's a lot of fun, especially because, all right, let's just feel like there's in regards to Varang, I feel like there's a big elephant in the room we haven't been addressing, which is her actress is Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter.
Yeah, Oona Chaplin.
Spectacular. I know her because she was in
Game of Thrones
season 2, episode 1 of Sherlock. That's what I know her from.
How are you going to call her out from that?
I haven't seen Game of Thrones.
You're joking, right?
No, I'm being dead serious. I didn't watch it, and then around the time I was going to start watching it, everyone's like, actually, season 8 is an abomination. You shouldn't watch this.
No, you should definitely still watch it.
I'll probably get around to it eventually. I'm going to watch Gilmore Girls soon. That's my priority right now. I got a lot of stuff. Listen, I'm busy rewatching House MD for the 5th time. Cut me some slack. That Hugh Laurie is just box office ratings beauty. Point being, she's a great actress, and I read an interview with her earlier where she said it was actually very difficult to play this character because apparently in real life she's the type of person, I can relate, that's constantly apologizing to people.
She's really sweet.
Apparently she's a very delicate, sweet person, and in this one she has to play basically like a actually fuck all you hoes type character. I thought she was brilliant. She has this like physicality to her, and some of that is also obviously the amazing work of the animators that worked on the mocap performance. But a lot of that is her genuine performance that I just was delightful. Everything with the Ash tribe I found great, and also God, I saw this with my friend Joe Bovinglow, and when Quaritch shows up in that early morning meeting, just decked out in the Ash people get up.
Oh yeah. That was awesome.
I thought it was awesome, and then Joe leaned over to me and he said, and Tim, maybe you should cut this, I'm not so sure, but Joe leaned over to me and said, what pussy does to a motherfucker.
No, like I saw a meme that was just like one night in the tent, and he's got the full tribal paint on.
Yeah,
he was right, and that's another thing I found fascinating about the movie is how it opened Quaritch's. It was more Quaritch realizing he's not a human anymore, and what does that mean for him, and embracing his Na'vi side for once. I found that to be incredibly interesting.
And like further expanding on the Varang piece, like I just felt like she is so iconic as like a character design, and I really felt I touched on this earlier, but I felt like she totally stole the show in this movie for me. Like she was so badass. Like I was, any moment that she was on screen, I was so into it. I like from the second that she has that character entrance with the wind traders at the beginning, where she's like firing the flaming arrows, and like they like burst the what was it, the Medusoids, the wind ray things. It was just awesome. Like she was so badass. And then like when you finally get to go and explore the Manquan like village, like the volcano village, it was just awesome. And so I think seeing her performance really shine was very satisfying for me. And I felt like it was a breath of fresh air, like getting just like a different flavor of that world, where like now you have like not quite civil war, but like you have opposing Na'vi factions, which was like a welcome kind of angle from my perspective. But yeah, Oona Chaplin was just like, she was awesome. And I remember it was funny, like the first time that I met her, we were standing at like the craft services table. Like I was just guilty for always like hovering around and eating all the snacks there. Like when I was taking a break from work, like if I was up at my desk, I would just like walk down to set and just go and snack on all the delicious food that they had down there. And then eventually we all got yelled at for doing that, but they're like if it's not an active shoot day for you, you're not supposed to be eating the snacks. But nobody cared. People did it anyway. But so I'm sitting there, and like I knew that she had been cast in the role, but I hadn't seen her yet. And so one day I go down there, I'm like standing at craft services, and I see her like 10 feet away, like just kind of hanging out, like talking to a couple people. And like I knew her from Game of Thrones, like she played Lady Talisa Stark, and I was like trying to think of a way to like introduce myself and like some type of icebreaker or whatever, because it's like it's a little tense. Like you don't want to be like totally like fanning over someone, but also like you still want to introduce yourself because you're going to be working with them. So I think I walked up and said something to the effect of like, the last time I saw you, you were getting stabbed to death in your pregnant belly by like by like some horrible people in the Red Wedding or something.
What a
like
move!
That. I was like, and she laughed, and then we like started talking, and like at the time we were working so much that I was having like some wrist pain and hand pain, and so like I was just like standing there like stretching, and she turns to me and she's like, are you having hand pain? And I was like, yeah, no, it's cool. It's like, it's all good. And she's like, show me where it is. And so like, I point to where it is, and I was like stretching it out, and she's like, here, come over here. And she like grabs me and like pulls me over to the wall. And she's like, here, put your hand like this on the wall. And then she like grabs my shoulder and just like yanks me into this position. Like, and she's like showing me how to stretch my arm. And I'm like, what the fuck world am I living in where like Talisa Stark is like showing me yoga practices on the set of Avatar.
Teresa Stark, aka Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter.
Right. But she was so nice and so sweet. Yeah, she was just like the kindest person, and it was really a pleasure to work with her. And like we didn't have like a ton of direct overlap. Like the time that she came in, like there were only like, I don't know, maybe 6 months before I was like on my way out. But yeah, all of the interactions I had with her were like really nice, and I can't give her enough credit for her performance. And
yeah. God, sorry, just this the whole bringing up that it's Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter just made me think, what if we went back in time, grabbed old Charlie, and plopped him in the IMAX 3D theater and say, check this shit out? You think it would kill him?
Yeah. He would finally speak. And he just sounds ridiculous.
God.
It's like the prequel. He goes back in time. You just plop him back and just like deal with it, and then that's what inspires him to do the speech from the Great Dictator.
Yeah, that's when he
It's like
starts
one of
doing
those
talkies.
shitty origin
By God, he
stories.
can speak. Austin, Tim, what did you guys think of Varang? I know Matt and I really dominated that, but do you guys got anything to add about that?
She's a good character. I agree. I'm glad Matt brought up those moments
Yeah.
because as negative as I was, those two moments were incredibly strong. Everything with Varang and the point where they go to the city and try to free Jake. I love that performance all the way through. I wish there had been slightly more of her after her and Quaritch teamed up. Because I just couldn't get enough of her.
Yeah,
she's probably my favorite part of the movie. Honestly, everything with her was great.
Same.
The psychedelic trip. I always love when
Sick.
I always love when the movie get trippy.
Yeah.
Especially in
And
IMAX
honestly,
3D.
It felt like such a unique take too on a psychedelic trip. I feel like psychedelics are always portrayed exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like in every movie, I feel like it's always just like using a wide angle lens and like things coming and going into just like the same tropes. And I felt like they really pinpointed like the psychedelic experience and kind of shot the gap on exactly like the way that things would be moving, and like it was just a very complex effect that clearly they spent a lot of time. Like I didn't work on that scene at all, but it was really satisfying to see the way that kind of all came together. And that was pretty fucking badass to watch. Like that whole moment, like where he shows her the gun and the flamethrower and stuff, and like is basically like, I'll give you as many as you want. And that whole interaction was awesome.
I do love so much that Gorge is like, the army's like, all right, you lost Jake Sully again, you fucking dipshit. What are you gonna do this time? And he's like, I have an idea. Hey, fire people!
He's like,
I got a bunch of
this.
guns.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
I like the idea of like a look dev meeting at Disney where it's just a bunch of people trying to talk about what the world looks like when you're on mushrooms. Like they just got a bunch of like people from different parts of the company that are all together in this one room for a seemingly unknown reason, and they're just kind of like they got like the fucking Avid window open and they're like, turn up the ghosting a couple more layers. It's not quite right yet.
I love the idea of them like randomly picking a bunch of employees at Disney and say you have to come to this meeting, no reason, and they're all thinking, oh fuck, we're gonna get fired, and then they enter the room and then James Cameron walks in and he's like, you're here because the Disney Corporation. You're here because the Disney Corporation thinks you've done mushrooms. Please help us do this scene. Can you imagine just calling a bunch of random Disney employees in for we're gonna figure out the shrooms thing.
Everybody's like trying to pretend that they've never eaten a handful of mushrooms in their life.
What are you talking? I've never done that. And they're like, no, your job is not at risk.
They're like, I don't know anything about what that would be like, but if I did, I imagine it would be exactly like this. So
hypothetically speaking, of course.
With the walls, you start with the walls breathing, right?
It's just fucking, it's if I did it, and it's just some random stone Disney employee that's like, if I did psychedelics.
Yeah, there we go.
Right. Well, I mean, James Cameron has been on the record talking about his experience with like LSD and mushrooms and stuff. So he definitely he understood the assignment.
He's a billionaire. He's allowed to say whatever he wants on the news.
Yeah. And I guess there is one other thing like that kind of ties into that, like the psychedelic experience and like the natural world that I wanted to mention too, was that I feel what was really unique about that set in general is that I feel like there's a lot of people a lot of directors or a lot of productions that have this like poignant commentary, right? Like they might have a commentary about like human impact on the earth or like whatever it may be. But I feel like the way that he operates his set, he's kind of helping facilitate people actually changing their measurable impact in a way. So one of the ways that he did that was he provided like free lunch for any of the employees that were working on the production, but it was like a vegan caterer. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm like not a vegetarian, I'm not vegan, like I'm like a carnivore through and through, but I think like the just having like the option to kind of like reduce your impact and take like simple measurable steps, like, okay, what does it look like for me to reduce my meat intake by one meal every day during the time that I was working on that production, and then like going forward after that production, like where do you like sit and think about your impact and like the way that you might be affecting the earth or I don't know. I thought that it was kind of unique the way that James Cameron operates his set with obviously like all the context of his ocean exploration and his conservation efforts. So I thought that it was really kind of special to see a director and like a team take that more to heart and actually try to offer some type of measurable solution or actionable way to kind of have that small impact, where most of the people obviously who would be involved on that production from a day-to-day, you know, if we're being honest, probably weren't thinking about it that much. So that was pretty cool. And then also in the process of like learning about his underwater exploration and like obviously seeing the amazing underwater Pandoran world that he had clearly informed from his life as like a diver and like expedition operator, whatever you want to call it. Like it actually brought me to get scuba certified, and like that's become one of my favorite hobbies, and also a lot of the other people that I worked with on set also got scuba certified, either while they were on the production or shortly thereafter, just from hearing so many amazing stories and just being captivated by that world. So I think like that's what really sets like a Jim Cameron production apart is that I think that he just has this innate ability to like imbue the work with so much inspiration and so much knowledge that it brings people to be like a better version of their creative self, or like explore different passions and interests outside of work. So I just thought that that was kind of like something special that I forgot to mention the last time that we were on the podcast, so I wanted to bring that up.
No, I mean, that's awesome. I love you. Listen, I could honestly hear you talk about your on-set stories forever. I loved the story about how you met Stephen Lang and how he just kind of like walked up to you and he's like, "Is this seat taken?" And you're like,
right. Breakfast. Yeah, the breakfast table.
Yeah, that Oona Chaplin story was also incredible. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I actually re-listened to the podcast today because I didn't want to like say too many of the same things twice, and I was like, what did I not mention in the last one? So yeah, I kind of made a couple notes of things that I wanted to talk about. So.
Yeah, no, it's great. I guess we're just kind of in general discussion at this point, Austin and Tim. If there's anything you guys want to like talk or ask Matt about, even.
Well, yeah, I mean, Matt, if you want to go into your overall thoughts on the movie beyond just specific stories.
Sorry, I didn't really give you a chance to do that.
I mean, I feel like I kind of covered it. But yeah, I thought overall, like, I mean, everyone kind of mentioned their kind of small gripes with the movie, which I mean I think is totally fair, but I think what it did really well is just like shove that action in your face in the right moments. Like when like the ambush of all the human ships, like in the third act, where like all the Ekron riders are hiding up in like the mountain rookery thing, and they all just like dive bomb. Like there was just a couple shots where you see them like fall off the cliff in unison on their Ekrons and just like dive bombing into camera, and just it was just like this striking angle. Like it then cuts to like a wide or something where you just see this like striking diagonal where they're all just like pew 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 pew, like breaking frame. It was just fucking dope. I was like, holy shit, that was, I mean, I thought that was sick. And then the other shout out that I have to give is to the sound design, because that the Tulkun ceremony, like the Tulkun elders meeting where they're like speaking whale language and you're just getting those like deep vibrations. I don't know if anyone saw it. I guess you guys all saw it in IMAX. Yeah, the water ripples, but like just the sound in that moment where it's just like that deep guttural sound that you could never even imagine like making with a human body. Like I just felt like that was fucking awesome. Like I was sitting there watching those ripples, hearing that like deep bass come through the IMAX speakers, and I was like, holy shit, I want to be sitting right there and get my eardrums blown out by these whales.
I do love the whales. I remember some of the reviews are like, yeah, for some fucking reason James Cameron thinks we care about the whales, and then it's like a negative thing, and I was like, okay, maybe you don't, but I fucking do. I fucking love those things.
If there was any like impactful moment where I cared about a creature in any movie in my life, I feel like it was during the Tulkun hunt. Yeah. When they like get them, I think they like in Way of Water, they like shoot the mother and they have like the inflatable kind of things that drag them up to the surface.
Yeah.
And then the baby calf is just like sadly like watching mom get fucking skewered by balloons. It was just the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's brutal. It's brutal. Yeah. And you know what?
Then they ran it back.
They ran it back. And you know what? I do remember being like in the middle of the movie when they like, oh, all the fucking Turoks are going to be here. We're going to hunt them down. And I do remember thinking, do they want these guys so badly again? So after the movie, I went and rewatched the clip of the last movie explaining it. I was like, yeah, this shit stops aging. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the elixir of life.
Yeah, I forgot James Cameron did. Unobtainium. That was a nice random substance MacGuffin. What if I did it again?
Yeah.
Right.
And it works! It works! Because it's fucking awesome.
Was that called
Yeah.
Amrita? I forget. It's been 3 years.
I think so.
It's
Yeah.
called the Amber of the Gods. I don't know.
It's called
That's
Alita
effectively
Battle
what it
Angel.
is.
R.I.P. to my boy Flying Jellyfish. When he went down with the little flaming chip on him, that was the most
That was my
emotionally
sequence.
impacted.
Hell yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
The heaviest impact that I had on that sequence was the Wind Traders battle, because that was one of the ones that was earliest in production. So like that whole flight where like the Wind Traders are just kind of like going through the Tapuis, whatever they're called, the like plateau mountains. They're just like cruising up in a straight line for like, a couple thousand yards, and then they get ambushed. And of course they set it up where Spider's like, I'm low on air, but I'm not gonna change my air tank. I still got at least 5 minutes in it, or something like that. Like, obviously he says that like right as you're about to go into that whole fight sequence. So I did think that raised the stakes, where I was almost like holding my breath for him, where you like, I knew it also, like when I kind of had forgotten that whole moment with like the respirator thing, but I remember like when he says like, oh, I've still got time, I'm like, you don't have time.
Yeah.
and
Like-
so then like that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, when I was watching, like, the bit where the Sigourney Weaver baby is, like, infusing him with the planet, I was just like, what if it just fucking doesn't work and he just dies?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it
would
was
give
on-
a
it was
James
on the
Cameron
table.
movie this. I never felt like, oh, this character's safe because XYZ plot armor. Except for Neytiri, because I actually remember an interview with John Lando when he said if they get to Avatar 5, Neytiri will go to Earth. So I knew that if nothing else, Neytiri has to survive this movie. But everyone else felt like fair game to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought that the Neytiri crash, where she gets like, she gets an arrow to the side and then like falls into the rainforest, and you think that she's just like, I mean, no one thinks she's dead, but she's really fucked up. But I mean, that was just a satisfying moment where she just falls through the canopy and like lands kind of like crumpled on the ground, and then like they have to find her. It was just, well, actually, I think she ended up getting out on her Ekron. But yeah, that whole sequence was super fun. Like, we got to previs all of like the flight of the Wind Traders, kind of like their initial flight path, and then like the attack of like the Ash people, where they got ambushed, and like all of them, like Jake Sully sliding down the what was it called, the Medusoid, the giant jellyfish thing, like sliding down the top of it as it's like on fire and like going down. Yeah, that whole sequence was super cool. We did a lot of Ekron flight and battle stuff, just like constantly animating flying Ekrons, flight paths, all that stuff. Yeah, that was super fun.
That
yeah.
sounds fun as hell, honestly. Yeah, God, just these movies are so fun. They're so fun. They're fun.
It's a good time.
Fun sure is fun.
Your
As they
specific credit on this film is visual effects artist / visual effects sequence artist / sequence building.
Yeah.
What does that entail if you had to break it down to people who like didn't watch the last episode?
Well, it probably would depend on the day, but it's weird because there's no way to directly compare it to other productions, because no production operates like Avatar does. So like on any other production, it would just be called like previs artist or like previs animator or whatever. But because of the backwards way in which these movies are made, it's like you're doing work up front, and then it's getting like used as a blueprint on set, and then it's getting kicked back to have more work done to it. So it's like part of the collaborative process of like building the sequences. So basically, to kind of give a more concrete example, we would get like raw script pages. So like on any given day, we would get like, let's say, a single script page that we're focusing on. So it would be like, it would say something like the Ash Raiders ambush Jake Sully and family on like the Medusoid ships, and like Varang shoots an arrow and it explodes the Medusoid, and Jake has to slide down, jumping onto his Zekron and flying off, whatever. And then we would kind of like pore over those script pages and figure out like, what is every single beat that's happening in this moment. Like we have to figure out, according to the script, what is every moment that is called out specifically, and then try to like take all those pieces of dialogue and all the descriptions of what's happening and actually create like what would be referred to as like a master scene, where you're animating like the flight path. And this could be like a 3-minute, 4-minute, 5-minute master scene where you have like the flight path of all 5 or 6 of those Medusoid ships kind of moving, and then like the flight path of the Ash people, where they come from, how they get there, where are they deriving their cover from, like how do they not get seen. It's really trying to like figure out, by diving into that environment, like how is this all going to get pieced together. And then what we would do is we would put cameras on it. So we would create that whole master scene, and then we would have it available in 3D space, right? And then we would go and say like, all right, let's get a medium of Jake, like, you know, grabbing his gun and pulling it out and aiming it, right? Let's get a close-up reaction shot of Varang when she sees that it's the Sullys on the ship, whatever. Let's get a wide shot of the ship starting to like to list and go down or whatever. Just finding all those moments, and then we would have check-ins on like probably like every week or so with Jim, where he would do like what was called like drive-bys at our desk, where he would come with like Steve Rifkin, the editor, and sometimes John Landau or whoever was around, Dylan Cole, Ben Proctor. So it could be a posse of like 5, 6, 7 people, depending on the day. They would come by our desk and we would show them the master scene of what we're working on. And then usually it would be Steve Rifkin whispering to Jim, like, I need a medium here, I need a close-up, I need like a whip pan, I need this. Where he's like a pretty soft-spoken guy. So he'd just be like kind of leaning over to Jim, being like, this is what I think would help like get all the pieces in place. And then Jim would kind of support him on that, and then also Jim would just drill down into something like specific pertaining to like the science of the sequence. So he would get into like the science of like the gas inside of the Medusoid like amorphous blobs, and like how that gas was affecting the way that the fire burned, and like the leading edge of the fire burning down the side of the thing as Jake is sliding. Like what is the texture of that material, and how does it affect the speed at which Jake slides? Like all of those things are just being thought through and poured over. And so we would just have those constant check-ins where he was kind of informing the tactile nature of the sequence. And then if you fast forward like a month from that point, we would have something that was pretty polished. So we would save out what was called like a take package or a capture package. And what that is basically like you're exporting all the Ekrons, all the Medusoids, all the like Sully characters, like all of these characters have like an animation package, and then they would open that up on set so Jim could be holding like the virtual camera, like physically holding the camera, and his screen would see the animation that we created. So as he's filming like this virtual scene, he's getting our animation of the Ekrons flying in, so that he can literally film it how he wants. So they're piecing together all the animation that we've compiled, and he would be able to literally go and put a camera on it however he wanted. So he could have like a motion control rig, he could have the handheld rig, and he would just literally go down on a shoot day. We would be down there for animation support, and he would shoot however he wanted to get the sequence. And then the worst possible scenario is if he says, we need to mirror this. Like you've done like a month's worth of animation, and he's like, actually, let's flip the whole scene and have them come in from the other side, and then you're sitting, and I should also add that, like, in addition to all the animation of like the creatures and like the Ekrons and the Medusoids, the wind rays, all that stuff, you also have the added layer of everyone in motion capture suits that's doing like the avatars and the people, right? So you have Jack as Spider, you have Took and Neytiri and Jake and all, like, the whole family. All of those people are like in mocap gear on set. They have the whole Medusoid physical corresponding set piece built, right? So they can actually climb up into the rigging, and the motion capture can get them climbing or swinging, whatever. And then so you have this added complication of the humans having to be able to interact with the environment and with your animation. So if there's a change to the way that the blocking plays out, we would have to do what was called like on-set animation support, where we would have to he would be like, let's flip the flight path of this Ekron, and he's like, can you have it in 15 minutes? And you can't say no, right? So you're basically, I'll do my best. And so you frantically have to sit there like on set animating like the fastest you've ever done it in your life. And then you have like Varang. Well, you have Sigourney Weaver and Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana and Oona Chaplin, like Jack Champion, Bailey Bass, like all those people waiting for you to finish your animation, which is like the most stressful thing on earth. Like that moment, like just being needed for on-set animation support was like the bane of my existence, and it was such a high pressure, like it was just like a pressure cooker of a situation every time. Like you're just sitting there like watching them shoot the sequence, and you're like praying that the flight path doesn't change or that like none of the blocking changes. But yeah, it inevitably would always change. So that process was painstaking. But that would
make me sick, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those people relying on me, I'd be like, actually, let me.
Yeah. At the end of like a year and a half of doing that, I was like, okay, I'm ready for a break.
Yeah. No, that's fair. It's fair and valid.
Yeah.
That is the
thing
correct
that famously
take.
Gets done quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so fascinating hearing about. I love hearing about movies with unique production pipelines relative to other things. I love hearing about the Avatar movies, and quality of the final product aside, the making of the 2019 Lion King movie, the technology that went into that was deeply fascinating. Final product aside, I kind of tend to agree with how Tim feels about it, but I do think like the Lion King like used VR to help animate stuff. I don't know if the Avatar movies did anything like that, but stuff like that is so cool.
We didn't use, at least while I was there, we weren't using VR, but when I was on Mandalorian with Favreau, because he also directed The Lion King, we did that same exact setup. And it's actually something we're using at Warner Brothers right now. I can't name the production that we're using it for, but stay tuned. But yeah, it's a really cool way. It would be called like a virtual art department or whatever, where what I've been doing recently is like in Unreal Engine, I'll set up like an environment. We'll create like a set piece for where like the ground plane would be and whatever like environmental set pieces are needed to like convey the general blocking of the sequence. And then we can like put the director in VR, and then like the hand gear for the Oculus, you can have it set up to be like a viewfinder. like what Steven Spielberg would hold on set, like to look
Oh
through.
yeah, those things. Yeah, that helps you frame shots and stuff.
Yeah, so they can just take selects like with a VR gear of like, here's a frame I like, here's a frame I like, here's a frame I like. This is a nice medium, this is a nice wide, whatever. And then they'll spend like 20 minutes in there finding some selects, and then we could spend the next 3 weeks like really polishing those selects and like expanding on them. And I love that process. I think during Avatar it was maybe a little early on the VR side for that stuff, but I'm sure now, like on the up and coming Avatar movies, that for sure they'll be using that. And I'm sure they used it at the end of production too, just not while I was there.
That is, see, I love hearing that especially with like blockbusters nowadays becoming increasingly in the virtual world, with how much previs stuff is important. I imagine that it's probably such an effective tool for directors to have, especially directors that might be new to blockbusters. It can be, I can't imagine how hard it is to wrangle. Like, you cannot see it before it's done, but if I bet that VR stuff is so helpful for them.
It's awesome. I mean,
I can only imagine.
Also, like, everybody just loves playing with the toys too. Like,
it's also that.
So I've been at Warner Brothers for about a year now, and I've become like the de facto toys guy. So like, so any time like production is looking at like fun like technology / toys, they're like, we're trying to do some virtual production and we want to use like an Oculus. They'll just like buy me an Oculus, and it like I'll just come in in the morning, and there's like a new toy on my desk, and they're like, hey, we thought you might want to experiment with some like VR stuff. And I'm always like, fuck yeah, I will for sure experiment with some VR stuff. You just keep buying me toys, I will keep experimenting,
please,
and like expanding our production in whichever way you see fit. So that's been like a fun role to kind of move into, is like, I'm a previs lead right now, and so it's been really cool to get to like dabble in a lot of the technology and figure out how we're gonna like adopt that technology and like integrate it into our pipeline. And so that's been super cool.
God, so cool. I was actually just at the Warner Brothers studio 5 days ago on New Year's.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I was. I did the studio tour.
Oh, cool.
I met the Luke from Gilmore Girls, which was kind of interesting. He was just showing up there every day during the holiday. I pointed at him and I said, Special Agent Peter Stram, because I know him from Saw 5. And he turned around, pointed at me, and laughed and gave me a thumbs up. So that was fun.
Was it raining while you were there? Or
it was raining a couple days, but not when I was at Warner Brothers, because it wasn't really raining on January 1st. Yeah, I know.
You got lucky.
Because the day I went to Universal, it was... Actually, I was grateful for the rain the day I went to Universal, because it kind of kept the crowds away.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
that's awesome.
Enough about my trip to LA. Let's wrap it up on Avatar: Fire and Ash. Austin, what are your final thoughts?
Avatar 3 feels like a movie miraculously beamed back from 2050, with visuals so far beyond everything else that other blockbusters kind of look like student films rendered on a TI-84 graphic calculator. But it also recycles some story beats, and by the third, Humans, Bad Whales, Sad Speech, it starts to feel like the most expensive deja vu in cinema history. But hearing Matt talk about it, I'm kind of starting to come around on it.
It's fun. It's so fun. Tim, what are your final thoughts on Avatar: Fire? I keep wanting to say Way of Water. It just rolls off the tongue really well. Avatar: Fire and Ash.
Avatar: The Way of the Fire and the Water and the Ash.
All that jazz.
Yeah, but yeah, no. Avatar: Fire and Ash. If you have enjoyed the first two Avatar films, you're gonna enjoy Fire and Ash. It gives you the spectacle you want, and then some. Lots of really cool stuff going on visually. Lots of really cool technology being integrated, like Matt's been talking about. Stories have been great. It's just a fun time, and go see it in theaters while you can. Have my opinions been noted now, you fuckers? Back to you, Tanner.
So true. Matt, any parting words you want to leave our audience before we wrap this up?
I mean, I'm just happy that I can sleep again. I was just wondering what these films were going to look like for the last 15 million years of my life. So I'm just satisfied that they're out the door and I got a credit, and that's enough for me.
I bet. All right, my time to shine. Hello. I think this is my favorite of the Avatar movies. I'm kind of back and forth between this and The Way of the Water, but the stuff with Varang, and again, my favorite sequence in any of these movies is the RDA prison break sequence. Just chef's kiss. It's a lot of fun. It is still playing in IMAX 3D. Get on that soon, because I feel like there's something taking IMAX screens right around the corner. I don't know what. I feel like there's a big thing coming out in February that probably is taking IMAX screens. So, Austin, I can tell, is looking it up. Thank you, Austin. But watch Avatar in IMAX as soon as you can before...
It's loading.
Whoa, there's a movie called It's Loading? That sounds really interesting.
It's the sequel to Processing.
Oh, shit! My sequel's playing in IMAX theaters?
Yeah.
Scream 7 at the end of the movie.
Are you fucking kidding me? That piece of shit. Sorry. Why? Not the point. Scream 7. Watch Avatar Fire and Ash before fucking Scream 7. If you've seen the trailer, it does not look good. Before Scream 7 comes to IMAX theaters, check out Fire and Ash in IMAX 3D.
Before you're forced to see Scream 7.
Yeah. What if you time it wrong and you go, I'd like a ticket to Fire and Ash, they go, actually, Scream 7 is now playing in IMAX theaters, and they drag you in.
Mercy with Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson.
Why is that play? That takes place in a room.
It's an IMAX 3D, baby.
3D? That movie's.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
I don't even think that movie necessarily looks bad. I think it looks like stupid fun, but like, why is it in 3D? It feels really that'll be. Imagine watching Avatar: Fire and Ash as your first 3D movie in IMAX, and you're like, I want to see another one. Give me the next one. I bet that is so underwhelming.
Oh my god.
But you know who isn't so underwhelming?
Ooh.
You,
Oh,
the person watching / listening to this episode of Bomb Squad Matinee. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening on any of the audio platforms we're on, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Leave us a review. It helps boost us in the algorithm or something like that. I don't know. I just work here. But yeah, leave a review. And if you are listening, how about you mosey on down over our Patreon, where the $5 tier gets you access to commentary tracks, and the $10 tier gets you a shout at the end of the episode. So, thank you very much, my mother, Tanya Kraft, for giving us $10 a month. I appreciate you supporting our dreams. Thank you, Mom. And if you are not done giving us money, how about you mosey on down to our merch shop? That's right, they got pants now. We do not have pants on that store. I should probably put pants on the store. Anyway, bombsquadproductions.shop. Buy a shirt, hoodie, posters for some of our short films, stickers, magnets, some fun stuff on there. Pretty reasonable prices, I think, for merch. So go on, buy something, have some fun with that. And if you are watching on YouTube, thank you oh so very much for watching. We really appreciate it. How about you mosey on down in the comment section below and let me know, what did you think of Avatar Fire and Ash? What do you think of the last 3 Avatar movies? What's your favorite piece of futuristic filmmaking tech? What do you think of the 3D? And finally, if you were in Cord's shoes, you would totally do the same thing, right? It's not just me. You would totally 100% embrace the Ash people thing. Listen, I'm very lonely. I get it. Comment below and let me know. That really got Tim. Tim's eyes widened. And while you're down there, hit the like button so we know how much you like us. Hit the subscribe button so we know how much you love us. Hit the bell icon to know exactly when we upload new videos. Tune in next week when we start our unofficial Oscar season catch-up. That's right, a bunch of big movies that are probably going to get nominated for Best Picture or something like that are coming out, and we're going to start talking about them, starting with Guillermo del Toro's newest movie, Frankenstein. It's going to be a lot of fun. Whoever booed, good thing Joe Vranick isn't here. That's all I'll say. It should be fun talking about that. We all like Del Toro here. We've talked about him before, so it should be fun. We'll see you then. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.
Farewell.
I slid my ticket across the table and I said, "Sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl."